Okay, we're live. What's up, everybody? Happy Hump Day. This is Hump Day Hangouts episode number 40. Wow, number 40. It is August 5th at 4 p.m. Eastern. What's up? We got Chris and Hernan and Marco with us. Adam is not here today, so what's up, guys?
Hey.
Hey, everybody. It's good to be here.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, Adam is out living the internet lifestyle on vacation again. So
yeah, and we're working for him, so
yeah, we're all hard at work while he's out enjoying life and
yeah. I miss you, Adam.
I said he must have a really good side hustle going because he's always on vacation. Hopefully he's watching this now and he's cussing me too, like, damn it, Brad.
Yeah.
So
now you know, guys. Go ask Adam how he pulls this off. You know.
Yeah.
Don't listen to us. Go ask him.
Yeah.
It's the beard. It's just the beard.
It's the beard. So I'm working on mine, I guess, and see if it works. We don't really have a whole lot of announcements today, except, or do we? Do we have announcements today?
Nope.
We didn't even talk about this, so.
No, I think we're fine.
Not really. I know we got a big announcement for next week, but we'll hold off on that, I suppose, until next week. But you guys should be excited about something next week. Be here next Wednesday because we got something we're going to be revealing next week that's going to be pretty big. So.
Big surprise.
Yep. With that, that's all you're getting. So don't ask because you're not going to get any more. Anyways, let me go ahead and grab the screen and we'll get right into some questions. We have a few already. So. Let's start right down at the bottom. We had one in the Facebook group, the IFTTT SEO group. Hey, are you guys seeing my screen, by the way?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let me lock it on there. Okay. All right, so we had one from Bo Michaels in the Facebook group. I'm going to bring that up, and I'm going to answer the question there. I told him I was going to do this because it was a bit lengthy, and I'd much rather answer it via Hangout or video than try to type all that crap out. So he says, okay, team, so I'm looking at building my first site targeting my local market. How should I look at the structure of the site? For example, if my site is about web design and I want to target a region that has a handful of major cities, and within those are smaller towns, should I use posts and link them in a silo? Yes. That would be what's called a complex silo structure, and that is how I recommend doing that if you're going to be covering a broad area, a broad territory with multiple as long as there's a hierarchy there that can be broken down. Like, you could do like state as your top level silo. Like in U.S. terms, it would be like state would be a top level silo. Then your subcategory or sub-silo would be counties, and then there would be cities and or townships underneath that, right? So it would be 3 levels deep. It would go parent page, top level category, then it would be subcategory and child page, and then it would be posts. That's what's called a complex silo structure. If you're doing, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is even if you're just covering one state, then you could do counties as your top levels, your top level silo, and then you could do, cities or regions like metropolitan areas, and then you can do, townships or, the small towns, the small municipalities within counties. You can do that as well. So there's a couple different ways to do it, but that I would absolutely recommend using the complex silo structure for that because it'll make more sense to Google and it'll be easier to organize your posts and your pages as well. He says, so if I was to build a site using the structure below, would I write a separate post to target the main region web design, city 1 web design, town 1A web design, and so forth? Yeah, but you don't want to go. You'd be over optimizing at that point. So what I would recommend is having a top-level page. Let's see, main region web design, city 1 web design, town 1 web design, and so forth. Yeah, you can do that. You just got to make sure that the content is unique, though, because otherwise you'd be over-optimizing. And you don't want to put web design in the URL structure for each one of those. You want to keep your URL very succinct. So, especially if you got, no matter what the root domain is, especially if it's an exact match domain, but if it's a branded domain, which it probably should be, then I would recommend for your URL structure that you just put the region name, then the city name, and then the township name in. Okay, instead of having like what old school SEO would tell you to do, city 1, region web design, city web design, town web design, because then you'd have web design multiple times in the URL. You don't want that because you'll get hit for over optimization. There's no question. Okay, so that's not a bad it's not a bad format, but you just want to make sure that you keep it very succinct. So in other words, if it's domain.com, and let's just say it would be using the example I mentioned earlier with state, county, city. I'm going to use Virginia because it's the state I live in. So I would do domain.com/Virginia/Fairfax County /Vienna, right? That would be the way that I would build that out. Okay, you wouldn't do Virginia web design /Fairfax County web design /Vienna web design. It would not be good to do that. You'd be over optimizing. All right. Would each post be okay to be approximately 300 words long, have a video optimized and siloed on YouTube channel, I'm assuming, and linking to each other like in the picture? Yeah, I would recommend more than 300. Well, it depends. If you have unique videos on every post, okay, to where they're not like the same video, just optimized that, for different titles, for different cities, If they're actually unique videos on every post, then yeah, you could do that. Because what I recommend then is just getting a transcription of the video itself if there's audio in it, like speech in the video, and using that as your written text. 300 words is not bad as long as you have unique videos. It has to be unique unique text as well as unique videos. Okay, if you're going to be using just text or the same video, then I recommend that you have longer, more text, and it's unique. You don't want to use the same stuff over and over.
Yeah, you can also curate some content that will give you longer posts and with less work. And I would also suggest that if you find some local authorities to link back to, go ahead and do it, because that will help a lot, both indexing and ranking.
Yeah, and as Hernan just mentioned, curating posts is perfect for that kind of thing, number one. Number two, you can actually reference or cite some local resources for each one of those towns. So, for example, you could mention something that had to do with the news or some kind of business stuff, that had to do with the business or Chamber of Commerce or something like that, and you could actually reference those in the post. That would give you local relevancy, plus it would be an outbound link to a local source, which would kind of just solidify the whole theme of that particular post in that article. And to me, that's a hell of a lot better than trying to come up with the, how many times can you say web design city without it being redundant? You know? So.
And I've also seen, sorry Bradley, but I've also seen that having outbound links to high domain authority websites increase the domain authority of your website itself. So it's not only about the inbound links, but also the outbound links,
Well, that'll increase your trust too, and
Yeah.
that's in part though. It's not just about linking to high domain authority; it's about linking to something that's topically relevant.
Right. Yeah.
So, and that's going to increase your trust signals, which is very, very important. And again, using those like curated posts and being able to mention or cite local sources, especially, is going to really reinforce that particular post. And sometimes you get lucky and you'll actually get a link back from that source because you mentioned them in an article or a post. And in fact, you can even, if you want to take it a step further, you could do an outreach program and mention, send them a notification that you linked to their site or their source or their post or whatever. And sometimes you can get a link back from that too. And those are very powerful when you do. Okay. I'm also trying to come up with similar content for each of the web design location posts. Would it be okay to spin them? If you manually spin them, yeah, I suppose. But what I recommend doing is hiring different writers for each post, so that they're 100% unique. Because spinning them, you can only get away with that so much. I mean, you could use stuff like SERPshaker. There's Lead Gadget. There's a couple site builders that will do stuff like that. But if you're talking about long term, I recommend that you have unique content written for each post, and that just means hiring different writers. There are some content farms out there that you can use. They're not the greatest at content, but you don't need a whole lot for the posts, especially if you're going to be using curated content. That's going to take care of a lot of your content needs.
Yeah, and it's good that you mentioned that you can find automated content or spun content, but the thing is that you want that content to convert, and usually you can get to that if a person write it. You know, you can curate content with high CTAs and whatnot, usually spun content will read as spun content. It doesn't matter how well spun it is, it will still be low on the conversion side. So think about the content targeting your visitor, not only the search engines, but your visitor.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, with those types of posts, Bo, the best thing to do is to make sure that the call to action is very strong, very prominent, because most of the time people aren't going to read that content anyways. But you kind of need it for the SEO value. But I don't recommend using shitty spun content. Honestly, I try not to. I use that for still some link building stuff, obviously, but on-site stuff, I don't use it for on-site stuff. Okay. All right. Let's see. I think he had, and one more question. Let's say I'm doing web design as a service, and let's say social media management. Would I do separate posts for each of these services? Or would it be better to put all services in one post? Depends. Depends, Bo. If you've got, it depends on how your categories are and how you set up your silo structure. Like if your silo structure is what we just talked about based on location more than services, then yeah, I would do separate posts because each one of those posts could be its own service at that point, which could link up to that location page, which is what you're trying to rank, right, for multiple services. So for example, in looking at this graphic here at city number 3, let's just say that you're trying to rank city number 3. And let's say that you had your town post web design, town post social media, town post SEO, town post video SEO. All of those could link back up to that city number 3 page, right? On that city number 3 page, you can mention all of the services that you provide on that page. And what's going to happen is those posts are going to be like supporting articles. They're going to reinforce not only the location, but they're going to reinforce all those services that are mentioned on city 3. So my answer to your question is on your top level pages, and even your subcategory pages, which are still pages, right? You'd want to list all of the services that you offer with a little blurb about each one. It doesn't have to be much, a couple sentences, a sentence or 2, 3, something like that, stating, we do video SEO services and we do SEO services and social media and content marketing and blah, blah, blah. Each one of them have a little blurb, but each one of them would be a separate like bullet point or an H tag of some sort, like an H3 or something like that. So it gives it prominence on the page, right? And mentions all of those different services. And then in your supporting posts, which are going to be down here mentioned in the towns, each one of those posts could be about a separate service plus that town, linking back up to that city page. Okay, and it's the mention of that service that's going to reinforce that content on that page as well as reinforce the location because of the hierarchy of your silo. Does that make sense? It's a lot of work. What you're talking about doing is a lot of work. It's very, very powerful. If you're going to build an authority type site, then I recommend going with a structure like this. I mean, this is a bit it's a bit complicated, not overcomplicated, depending on what your long-term intent is. But you can get away with doing a lot less than this. It's just, how big are you going to go? If you're going to be building a really, really big site that you're going to cover a very broad area, then this is a good way to go. It's a lot of work though. You're going to have a lot of need for need for content. Okay, so just keep that in mind because your cost to build all of this is either going to cost you money, or it's going to cost you time, or it's going to cost both, a combination of both. So just keep that into consideration before proceeding with that project, because that looks like it's going to be a large project. Okay, I think that was it for that, so we'll keep on moving. By the way, guys, do you know if I did, cameraman, did anybody mention? Yeah, it looks like I did. Sorry, guys, I don't have Adam here today.
We can let lost. Sorry, guys.
Ronald Pearl, he says, I'm already in the Advanced RSS Academy course, the last course. Yes, I have questions. Okay. Can you confirm to them if the SMRSS plugin they discussed here is still working? Yeah, it still works. In fact, our upgraded the 2.0 version is available now. I thought we were going to work on deciding what we're going to do with that. We didn't, guys, did we? Shit.
No. We will handle it this week.
Yeah, we'll handle it this week. But yeah, the plugin still works. The new version is ready. We're deciding on how we're going to deliver that. Like, give that to you guys. Like, I know MasterMIND members are getting it. We haven't decided what we're going to do yet with everyone else, but you will have the option to get it. That's for sure. And but the old version still works. I'm still using the old version on several of my sites, in fact.
Yeah, the new version just has new features for Twitter, Facebook, and feed refresh and all kinds of other gimmicks.
Okay. Let's see. If
Nice.
I don't know if I can even log into that right now. I'd have to pull out. I'd have to pause the screen. He's saying that he can't understand a particular lesson. I would have to check that lesson, Ronald, and I'm not logged in at the moment. So, and the other one is number 2. Can you confirm to them if the live stream sites listed here are still useful? They only mention that Flavors has been permanently removed. I don't know why you'd say that. Flavors isn't permanently removed. I don't remember mentioning that. That's one of the better sites, in my opinion. Flavors.me. Yeah, this is not removed. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Ronald, because we still use Flavors.me. That's one of my favorite sites, in fact, for live stream stuff. Let's see, but I want to know the others because I created an Alternian. It worked fine, and it started creating a Dippity account. It seems to not be working, so I didn't continue working on other live stream sites. Yeah, all the live stream sites should be there. The only one that we pulled out of there was FriendFeed, because FriendFeed was basically taken down. There is no more FriendFeed. So all of the other live stream sites should still work. It should be Rebel Mouse, Dippity, Alternian, Flavors.me, Paper.ly. Curator. Yep, and Curator. Yep. There should be 6 live stream sites, and we still use all of them. Keep in mind, some of those sites are buggy. Dippity is one of them, and Curator is another one. Those are 2 very, very buggy sites. So sometimes they just flat out won't work when you're trying to create, and it's because it's something going on their end. It's not because of something you're doing, most likely. It's because it's something, because we have that problem all the time. So look, we build them when they're available. If we're in the process of a network build and they're not available, we move on. We skip it. Okay? So just don't waste a lot of time trying to get every single property in the networks to work, because 95% of the time, if they're not working, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because there's a problem with that particular platform at that moment that you're trying to build it. And I've had so many students, and look, I'm not above this. I used to do this myself, but I used to waste a lot of time trying to get every single one of those properties to work 100% of the time. And I can't tell you how much lost time, how many hours I pissed away because I was trying to get everything to work 100% of the time. When now I've realized that that is not the best use of my time. The best use of my time is to get everything to work that is working at the moment that I build and move on. If there's something that I can come back to a week or 2 later, most of the time, if you come back to it a week or 2 later, the problem will have resolved itself, and then you can add that back into the network. But don't try forcing things to work that you have no control over, or submitting support tickets to us telling us it's not working. Okay? So just to let you know, like seriously, the best use of your time is to get everything to work that is working at the moment you build. If there's a couple things that are not, then make a note of them, come back to them in a week or 2, try them one more time. If they're still not working, then check with us, and usually the Facebook group, because we will have mentioned if there was a update or something, or if a site had to be removed, which happens from time to time, guys. Okay?
Yeah, and have in mind, guys, that an IFTTT, a full-fledged IFTTT network and a tier network has so many moving parts. It's a complex system. It's a really complex system. So sometimes, it happened to blog.com, which was a nice platform. But
is that still down?
I haven't checked, to be honest.
Because it's been up and down a lot in the last few weeks.
And it happens. And
wrong one.
I mean, we can be updating the training and at all, but we cannot be supporting, those kind of platforms, because if we find another one, if we find a new one, we will add them, and if we found out that some of them are not working, we will remove them, but it will happen, it happens with everything that we do over the internet, that it will update and whatnot, and we try to keep it up to date, but just have in mind that it's a really complex system. Just focus on the biggest. If you're having troubles, my take on it will be to focus on the ones that will yield you more results.
That's right. That's right. And like I said, 95% of the time the problems will resolve themselves. Just give it time.
Right.
The other thing is the live stream sites are not in the workbook template because it's a separate course. It really is. The live stream sites are like an add-on. It's a bonus. So they're not listed in the account workbook template just because they're not part of the core training, which is the IFTTT SEO Academy. There are separate sites. What I recommend if you follow the training is that you add another tab to the workbook when you start to build out the live stream sites. And in fact, if you order done for you IFTTT networks from us, that's what we do. We just add an additional tab for the live stream sites to the same workbook. Okay, and the live stream site workbook template is in the live stream Academy training area. There's a link to it. It should be, anyways. Okay, Ronald says, I am launching a video platform and I would like your team to execute the tiered networks and get a quick walkthrough on day-to-day. Not sure what you mean by walkthrough on day-to-day. We have one-on-one consulting. If you need that for anything particular, you can schedule time with us. You just have to purchase it, and then whoever you request to work with you, we'll have to get it scheduled. Okay. We can build the networks for you. Just need to place the order. If you have specific pre-sale questions, post them to our support desk at support.semanticmastery.com. I believe that's even on the order form for the IFTTT networks, the link to support, because it says if you have pre-sale questions, contact us at support. Okay? We'd be happy to build your networks for you. If you have specific questions, ask them in support. We'll get you sorted. If you need one-on-one help for any particular reason, you can certainly purchase consulting time, and we'll help you out then. Jeff says, I'm building my first Tier 1 and Tier 2 networks. Way to go, Jeff. I'm going to +1 that. Tier 2 is being built out as personas, and T1 is a brand network to support an e-commerce site, industrial products. I'm creating a video syndication network for product reviews. Should I be linking the e-commerce site only within the video descriptions on the YouTube channel and the link list on the YouTube channel itself, or should I also include it in any link lists on the various branded Tier 1 Web 2.0 properties? Let's see, Tier 1 brand network to support an e-commerce site. No, you can, if it's branded, if it's a branded network that's going to be attached to the e-commerce site, you can link the e-commerce site URL as part of like the profile link section of every site that will allow you to do that. Google Plus page, the YouTube channel, Gravatar. About.me is not in the IFTTT training because it doesn't connect to IFTTT, but that's another semantic hub property that you can use to link everything together. So as long as it's branded and it's connected and it makes sense, you can certainly link them up. I recommend that you do so. The only time anytime, like for example, if you have, and I think I saw this question earlier, maybe by Jeff Bear, in fact. If you have a branded a website and a branded IFTTT network and a YouTube channel, and they're all pretty much the same brand. In other words, you have your website, which is your main money site, and then you have a associated YouTube channel, right? So YouTube channel is associated with your brand, vice versa. Then you can have, what I recommend doing is putting your IFTTT network around your website so that you're actually funneling the juice and everything back to your main website, passing the authority to there, and then setting up persona accounts to syndicate your YouTube videos just for extra push for your YouTube videos. In other words, you're just doing it for like a broadcasting network, but you're that's if you're going to be taking your videos from your YouTube channel and then posting them on your website as blog posts, because then your blog is going to syndicate those videos. So you don't want to do both. In other words, you don't want to have your YouTube channel and your blog syndicating to the same Tier 1 network, if that is indeed what you're doing with your videos. Like, a lot of people take their videos that they put on their money channel, that they add to their channel, and then they embed them in the blog posts on their main money site, and that makes their blog posts. Well, then you'd be double posting the same videos to your branded network. I don't recommend doing that. So, in fact, we have, let's go take a look at this. I'll grab the link for you. We have that in the FAQ section of the knowledge base and support.semanticmastery.com, IFTTT SEO Academy. There's 27 support articles in there, or FAQs that are answered in there. And one of them is, let's see, okay, this one. If I have a YouTube channel and a branded website, can I syndicate both to the same network via IFTTT? Right here is your answer. So guys, check out support.semanticmastery.com, the knowledge base. A lot of the questions that we get asked are often are already answered in there. Okay, so check that out. I'm not sure that that's 100% what you were asking, but that I'm pretty sure, Jeff, that that's what I would suggest doing. Now, again, you can link back from your branded network back to your e-commerce site. The persona, if you're doing a persona tier 1 network around your YouTube channel, then I recommend just linking everything back to the YouTube channel, and then maybe like the blogger account from that network as the main like website for that particular network, and then just linking in the video descriptions back to the e-commerce site, right? Because you want to keep that basically separate. Hopefully that was clear. I'm not sure if it was, but hopefully it was. Chris says, "Hey Bradley and company, I've been quiet lately, so I thought I would fire you some questions. If it's a busy Hump Day hangout, feel free to skip these." No, that's cool, Chris. I can take time for you, man. He's really active in the mastermind. So if you have a client with a portfolio of sites whose income is derived from affiliate revenue and they are all exact match domains, would you continue with a keyword-based strategy, or would you abandon that in favor of a brand strategy and build an alternative network of sites? Not 100% sure on the question, Chris. I always recommend the brand strategy now. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was more of a keyword strategy, but now it's about brand strategy, and going forward, it's going to become more important.
Yeah, the problem with EMDs is that the threshold to trigger a penalty is a bit lower, but what you could do is to turn that EMD into a brand
site.
Yeah, into a supporting site, or you can also build backlinks to that site still, but using like typos, for example, or using the entire keyword. Let's say that you're going for redshoes.com, and you want to rank your site for red shoes. Then I would suggest that you use red shoes without space, read juice or something like with a typo or something like that, that will kind of diversify your link profile. Yeah. And use a lot of URLs, because the .com usually turns that into a brand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically that's what I would do in case you cannot move that site or has a lot of authority. Oh yes, turn it into a supporting site, or use a brand to use to make another landing page for that client. That's what I would do.
Yeah, that's good advice. And also remember that you can turn an EMD into a brand. In other words, if you create a brand name, even though it might be using an exact match domain as its domain, you can give that site its own brand, as long as it's not the exact match keyword as the brand. In other words, if you have like he said, red shoes, well, let's call it greenhouse shoes. You know what I mean? Like then what you could do is use that as the brand name and the anchor text for that. Even though it's on redshoes.com, greenhouse shoes or footwear or something like that, right? Could be like the actual brand name, and then you could build out, then you wouldn't be triggering the over optimization for that. If you build a lot of links to it using the brand name, is my point. The problem with EMD is exactly what Hernan said, is the threshold for triggering an over optimization penalty is so low. And it's not even that it's so low, it's the fact that with Penguin the way that it is now, if you're building remember, guys, we all know, or at least we should all know, that the best types of links to be building right now are brand anchors or URLs, right? Naked URLs. But the problem is now Penguin considers an exact match domain as an exact match keyword anchor. So every time you build a naked URL, which we all think is safe, it is safe provided that it's not an exact match domain. Because if it's an exact match domain and you build a whole bunch of naked URLs back to your site with just the URL as the anchor, well, now you've got the keyword present in that, and that could actually trigger the over optimization of your inbound link profile.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, basically you would want to tell Google what to rank you about, or what keywords you're trying to rank for on your on-site SEO.
That's right.
Your off-site, your backlinks should be 95% branded and URLs. Yep. If you can throw a typo in there, that helps a lot also. But you want to tell Google about your website and your keywords on your own site, basically.
Yeah. So hopefully that was, Chris, if you have additional questions about that, just post it in the mastermind and we'll get to an in-depth discussion in there about it. Number 2, he says, would you advise someone launching a new business or brand to think in terms of paid traffic sources first, for example, Facebook, YouTube, and AdWords, press releases possibly, rather than relying on SEO to drive traffic from day one? Is this also maybe the best way to test a new niche for affiliates before committing further resources? I didn't used to think so, Chris, but now I'm moving more towards that. If you're gonna, if you're trying to launch a new business and a brand, and you have the money, if you have some money to invest in advertising, you'd be investing it in SEO anyways, right? I mean, because if you're launching a new business, it depends on who you are. If you're an SEO, you can do some SEO things to test a new niche, which is what we have been teaching inside the masterclass a lot, like how to poke a niche. That's a term that I think Alex Becker coined, but to test a niche would be to spam a whole bunch of different content out, either using YouTube videos or various other like Web2 properties or whatever, targeting multiple long tails within a particular niche, so, keyword set, and in identifying which keywords are going to rise, up in rankings to not even necessarily the first page, but just close to the first page with no additional off-page work. It's just strictly on-page, and that's kind of how you can test a niche with SEO. And we do a lot of that, like I said, with YouTube videos and Hangout Millionaire. That's how I test a lot of stuff, because it identifies quickly what is going to be lower competition keywords for me to be able to go in and build a more permanent structure for, whether it's a website or Web2 or whatever. So that's one way to do it. But if you're talking about a business owner, I would recommend to a business owner that they invest in some paid traffic up front, as opposed to SEO, because SEO they're going to have to pay an SEO anyways, unless they're trying to do it on their own, which a business owner, I don't know how any business owner could create a new business and learn SEO at the same time. I really don't know how that's possible.
Right.
SEO is too complex to be trying to learn that while you're starting a business,
Yeah. Yeah, and if you have the possibility, Chris, to advise your client on using all of the possible traffic generation strategies, go ahead and use them, because you can get like really nice cheap clicks on several traffic sources, and then you can turn those. I think Terry Kyle was a big eye-opener for me, using every possible tool that you have to get clients to your website, and then using every possible tool that you have also to keep them on your website, like retargeting, email marketing. So the SEO, the borders of SEO, they go broader and bigger, because you start doing not only SEO, but you become a consultant on traffic generation and sales conversion and a lot of stuff. You can then upsell to your client. But
I think SEO is that term has it's really evolved to be a hell of a lot more than just search engine optimization.
Yeah, definitely.
So the other part of that, again, I totally agree with Hernan. I recommend up front, if you have an advertising budget, is to spend some money, or a marketing budget, period, a marketing budget, would be to spend some money on paid traffic up front to get traffic in the door now, while you're working also at the same time on your SEO strategy, your SEO campaigns, to start building in organic traffic. But as you know from following the masterclass, the local SEO case study, which, by the way, that's what we're doing today. We're not even going to talk about the affiliate case study today, because we've got a lot to review for the local case study. But that takes several weeks. We're on week 10 now for that. And, we're doing well, where I got multiple first-page rankings, but I'm not at the top where I want to be. And so, that takes anywhere between 3 to 6 months to really solidify those top spots. And who wants to wait that long for good traffic? So if you can, like Hernan said, Facebook is a good source for traffic if you know how to do it. I still don't know how to do it. That's what Hernan does. YouTube ads are great. I love them. I've been playing with them a lot. That's another source of traffic that you can get for very, very cheap. AdWords, I've never done actually AdWords other than just AdWords for video. I know that's possible and it's effective, but you have to spend a lot of money up front to really dial the campaigns in. Press releases isn't bad. Press releases can be expensive as well. So all of those are good traffic sources, as long as you have the budget to support it. Okay.
And let's not forget any offline traffic sources.
Yeah, offline too. Yeah, let's not forget that, guys. Chris, great point, because that's, we always talk about the online stuff, but there's direct mail, there's networking, there's signs, bandit signs. There's a lot of other ways that you can generate traffic to a business outside of just the internet, the online space. Okay. Social media is another one. Remember, social media, you can drive, if you got somebody that's engaging. Again, business owners typically don't have the time or the desire to do it, But if you got somebody that knows how to use social media properly, you can drive traffic into a business that way as well.
Yeah, and there are some niches that are like really viral. So you can use Facebook or Pinterest or Twitter, or you can hire somebody to do it, for that matter.
Yep. All right. Number 3, do you anticipate any impending seismic shifts in SEO for 2015, 2016? Or maybe Marco should answer that one. Any new traps for the unwary? Sorry, man, I may not be able to attend live. Yeah, well, Panda 4.2 is rolling out as we speak. The official announcement was 2 weekends ago, I believe. And so that's rolling out. It's going to be a really slow rollout. I have some, assumptions as to what it's going to be looking at and kind of taking into like the whole filter, the whole update as to what I think it's going, what kind of consequences it's going to have. But until we see some solid data, it's just assumptions, or we're just it's just speculation at this point. So. But I don't really see anything huge. I know that the semantic, we're getting more and more into semantic, like markup using structured data, things like that. I think that's something that there's going to be a somewhat of a seismic shift to where if you're not using structured data and properly, with proper markup, that you're going to basically be deprecated. Very similarly to what the mobile update was, where, if you don't have a mobile-friendly site, you don't get shown up in the mobile search results. So I think there's going to be a lot of that coming with structured data. I don't know how soon it's going to be, though, but I feel like it's coming on kind of rapidly because the structured data markup is continuing to evolve and become better. So I think we're going to see more of that.
And I thought Marco and his team was still on Google 2005 or something like that, right, Marco?
It's old school with a new school flavor, man.
There you go.
The SEO time machine.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So you guys will hear about that next week.
Got that right.
You will hear about it next week. All right. Jeff Bear says, not sure I'll be on the Hangout, but I purchased an IFTTT, Tier 1 ring to syndicate a blog. It appears that all is working great. Now I want to work on the same client's YouTube channel. Can I use the same ring accounts to syndicate their channel? Is it just a matter of adding recipes? You can, provided, Jeff, that you aren't going to be syndicating the same videos, just like I mentioned earlier. If you're taking the videos and embedding them on the blog and then using the blog to syndicate the content, you don't want to also syndicate the YouTube content at the same time because you'll be getting basically double duplicate posts. So, again, you could just use a separate persona-based network, and this question is answered right here. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to tag you, Jeff, on the reply right here. All right, take a look at that. Again, that's in the FAQs on support.semanticmastery.com. Okay, next one. I have noticed now that when I post on my client's blog in the post syndicate, I get comments or trackbacks in WordPress. I've never really understood trackbacks or pingbacks. Should I approve them or trash them? Okay. I typically just trash them. They are backlinks, but they're no follow backlinks anyways. So, I mean, they won't hurt, but they're just kind of a pain in the ass. What I recommend doing is that you go in to your WordPress settings and turn that off so that you don't get pingbacks or trackbacks. And you can do that under settings, general, settings, comments, I believe. I think it's settings, comments. Yeah. If you go into comments, there's options for that.
Yeah, it's probably an outdated way of saying, hey, you got a link from a WordPress blog, link back to them. It's kind of outdated right now in WordPress, so I think that they should be eliminating that option altogether soon.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of spam. It's a spam soup, trackbacks and pingbacks.
Yeah. And it just becomes annoying, especially if you're doing a lot of content marketing. If you're keeping a regular and frequent posting schedule, you'll get a ton of them. And so, and obviously, the more syndicating you do, the more you'll get as well. So I recommend just turning it off because it's just a pain in the ass, and they're a bit spammy. So just delete what you have. Just go into the comments and just mass delete them, and then go into your settings, comments, the options, and turn that off. They're just checkboxes. You just turn them off and click update or save. Okay, questions from Steve Hernandez. I love this Wayne and his memes. The next one would be Clint. Clint should have a meme somewhere too. He usually does, and I don't see one yet.
It's kind of yeah. Clint, what's up, dude?
Clint, come on, man. You can't let Wayne out, do you? You
And
guys
you
are
have a
using-
flashy, you have a flashy Bradley on that GIF. Did you see that?
Yeah, and it's an old picture from years ago when I first started Big Bamboo SEO, which was like
Kind of Mortal Kombat
5
thing.
years ago. Yeah, it's an old picture.
It's like,
This is a question from Steve Fernandez, who's in the mastermind. This is actually a mastermind post, which, by the way, I've got to add him to my circles, which I'll do that later. Anyways, hey guys, I'm almost finished with the IFTTT SEO Masterclass videos. I'm in the middle of the local SEO case studies now, and I'm now at a point where I'm thinking about sequencing between all of the courses, YouTube Silo, IFTTT Academy, Curation Mastery, etc. What would be the proper sequence for putting all of this content together? I'm getting kind of bogged down with all of the information. I can understand that, Steve, and I'm sure, as Chris already has, plus one in Chris, a lot of other members can kind of give you guidelines as well as to how they navigated their way through the sea of information that is Semantic Mastery. There is a lot. I recommend, he says, basically, what is the fastest path through the material to actually realize profit within 1 to 2 months while continuing to learn and implement the content? We did in the masterclass, Steve, which as a mastermind member, you should have access to every one of those lessons. They should not be on a drip schedule for you. If they are still on a drip schedule, just contact us via support. We will unlock them for you so you have access to them immediately. And in one of those lessons, I believe it was what was called the regroup session, which I think was week 9, we went through a very specific timeline of how to go from 0 to making money in as short as time as possible, using the same strategies that we teach through IFTTT SEO, YouTube Silo Academy, all of that. Okay, I believe it was the regroup session. I can double check when we're done with webinars today and make sure, and then even drop the link in the comments here to that specific lesson. But we did that intentionally because we took a survey of Masterclass members, and a lot of people were saying, you know, that there's a lot of, you guys have a lot of good information, but we don't know how to put it together and start profiting from it, you know, quickly. So how can we do that? And so I specifically addressed that and put together a step-by-step, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, in this order, and then you'll be making money. And again, I believe that was week 9. If it's not, I'll find out. Hernan, if you're taking timestamps, could you, or whoever's taking timestamps, could you make a note of that to remind me to look for that?
yeah, sure. In fact,
cool.
we were talking with Chris on making a kind of a mind map,
Yeah.
you know, to navigate. But yeah, we can do that.
Okay. You know, that would be a great idea if we did that, by the way.
Yeah.
So.
Already on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Quick draw.
Well, then, yeah, that's Chris and his fast draw again. Okay, let's see. Yeah, okay, so that pretty much answers that, Steve. And great question, by the way, and we'll make sure that we get you the answers. And I'm sure whatever Chris said here is, I don't have the time to read it, but I'm sure Chris did well in helping you out as well, because he's always got good advice. So, happy Hump Day, +1. Let's see. What does this mean? Not responded. I'm not sure what the, oh, because I'm not here. Maybe I didn't RSVP for my own webinar. Wayne's GIF is giving me a seizures. Nice. Stop holding out on us, David. David, you're a mastermind member, buddy. You don't need to worry about us holding out on you. Trust me. Everyone else, yeah, we're gonna tease you a little bit. Yes, Gerald, it does start with R, the letter R. You know what we're talking about. Yes, my domain is branded Bo. Okay, great. As far as, let's go back and just revisit that for a minute. Bo's question with Facebook, that's where it was. If it's a branded domain, then you're good to go, Bo. I would just go ahead and, like I said, just keep your levels in the tier and the silo structure, you know, the hierarchy of your URL. Keep that very succinct with just the city and the town names, if that makes sense. You want to do that so that you don't over-optimize, okay? You can still put all of those in each title. Like we've talked about this before, but you want to make sure that, you know, your URL structure, in my opinion, should be very succinct and not keyword optimized at all anymore. Make it logical, okay, and as short as possible, okay. Like I like a really, you know, the old school SEO way that we used to put the keyword in every freaking level category, and then in the post level, and it was an exact match domain, and it was like the URLs would be 3.5 feet long, you know what I mean? And so that kind of stuff is like, you don't do that anymore. That's old school. You don't want to do that. All right. keep going. We got a few more, and we're almost out of time. So, just a testimony about the proper usage of crowdsearch.me. I started using it right after subscribing and didn't watch Bradley's video on proper usage. Before I corrected my search criteria, my YouTube video was hanging around position 9 to 10 for a local keyword. Within 2 days after I used Bradley's recommendation, my video jumped to position 7 for a local keyword and position 2 for a longer tail keyword. Lesson learned, watch the effing videos before trying to do it yourself.
Awesome, Bob. Congrats.
If Hernan, if you can post at the top,
Yep.
semanticmastery.com/crowdsearch.me, all one word. If anybody has not picked that up yet, I suggest you do so. We still have a backdoor link that gets you in. And we did a substantial amount of training on it recently as well. So last week in Masterclass we talked about it. So Sky says, is CallFire still working to set up Gmail accounts? I cleaned my browser, computer as described, went to create Gmail, then create CallFire account in browser, put in the number bad robot error page from Gmail. I don't know. I still, it's hit or miss with CallFire right now, Sky. If you are an IFTTT SEO Academy member, then there is a file that Valerie Tobin, one of our members, was kind enough to create. If you go to the file section here and you look for creating unlimited phone verified accounts right here, it's a PDF that she uploaded. You can download it. And she talks very specifically about how to create unlimited phone numbers to use for verification. By buying a burner phone, like a prepaid phone from Walmart. It's a specific phone. I think it's like $15, and then you can change the phone number pretty much unlimited amount of times, and that's something that has been working really, really well. I still can use CallFire sometimes. Sometimes the phone number works, sometimes they don't. So the way that we actually generate the phone verified accounts is we have our team in the Philippines that creates the accounts for us, and they use SIM cards. So they go down to like their local gas station and buy a SIM card, and that gives them phone numbers that they use, and that's what we do. We just have a budget that our team gets for buying SIM cards to verify accounts. There's also, I know that there was a post in the discussion area recently, and there was actually some talk about it. Jeff was, I think, the last person. Jeff Stiegman was the last person to answer it. Oh, here we go. Kendall Backus. This post here by Kendall. They were talking about, he was talking very specifically about phone numbers and being able to verify accounts, and this whole thread right in here is about what other people are using to verify accounts. I think there's another app that you can call, it's called Burner. It's an app for like Android and I think iPhone as well, and you can do that, and that apparently works too. Okay, so again, just look up this this post by Kendall Backus. In fact, let me just grab the post URL because obviously I can paste that. And we're almost out of time. Let me hurry up. Phone verified accounts. Anybody that's not in the IFTTT SEO Academy, you won't be able to see that, but I think she is because those are very specific questions. All right, where am I? Keep going. Clint says, my shit always works sometimes. So he didn't have the meme, but he had the funny quote. Good enough. Jason Johnson says, blog.com seems to be up now. Yeah, it's hit or miss. It's just really crappy. It's just a very unstable site. I'm not sure why, but you'll find that the blog.com RSS feeds never work either. Like whenever the feeds from the blog.com sites, they don't work very well, or at all. Bo says, first off, thanks for answering my question with so much detail. I appreciate it. It does look like this is a huge project, and essentially I do want to have an authority site, but I need to be making money along the way to fund expansion. This leads to my next questions. You mentioned that there are easier ways to do this, so I'm curious as to whether you could give me some guidance on that or point me to a resource. Yeah, Bo, and the short answer would be, instead of building one massive site, build it in stages. So, and I recommend, what I like to do, just because it limits your exposure, I keep looking for that post because it's over here instead. The graphic that you drew, this one here, so instead of building a big massive authority site, what I like to do is build on subdomains, so that I'm like literally chipping away one town at a time, or one city at a time, or one region at a time. Okay, because then you still get the benefit. Okay, like for example, if we were going to use domain.com as our main domain, and let's say that I wanted to build out for Washington D.C., Maryland and Virginia. It was known as the DMV area, right? DC, Maryland, Virginia. Okay, that's kind of like those are two states in the District of Columbia. So let's say that those were going to be my 3 areas. Instead of building on the root domain and having this complex silo structure with a ton of posts and all that stuff, what I would do is focus in on one particular area. So let's say Virginia, for example, and I would build out a Virginia subdomain. So it would be virginia.domain.com. And I would focus on just building that structure out first. Then when I decided, once I've got that structure up and it's starting to generate traffic and starting to ultimately generate revenue, then I would go ahead and start building out, let's say, Maryland. So it would be maryland.domain.com. Because what happens then is the root domain is going to benefit from the authority that the first site that you built, in this case virginia.domain.com, generates, right? So it's going to start building domain authority. It's going to start to give that domain traction. And then when you build out the next subdomain, it's going to automatically benefit instantly from the domain authority that had been built from the first domain. And then subsequent subdomains from that point forward are going to benefit as well. Plus, there's going to be a cumulative effect from all of those different subdomains that are going to exponentially increase the domain authority if you do it right. Yep. Okay.
I'm sorry, Bradley, but I'm doing money sites on subdomains only from now on. Since a couple of months actually.
And I agree with that as well because it limits your exposure. The other part of that, Bo, is that first of all you get to chip away at it one town at a time, so that you can start generating traffic and revenue from one site, a smaller subsection, than trying to do it all at once, which is a massive project, and it's overcomplicated. And when you look at a project this big, like how you have it described here, it's a bit overwhelming. It's overwhelming in just mapping it out, for God's sakes. So what you do is you break it down into a smaller, let's say it was just city1.domain.com, and you start off with just that, because then you can start to realize some actual traffic and some revenue from that site. Any mistakes that you make here aren't going to be site-wide across the whole entire big site. So if you make some mistakes here and you see how you can improve your next build, then you just go ahead and start your next build with those improvements in place for the next build. And once again, the same thing for build number 3. Each time you're going to get a little bit more efficient. You're going to learn a little bit more, and you're going to do it in sections that way. Plus, like Hernan said, if you it's also a way to limit your risk, because if you have one big main site and you catch a penalty from anything, and remember, Google can change its mind. What we do today that is still acceptable tomorrow could be penalized. We could be penalized for, guys. It's not up to us. It's up to Google, and they could change their mind at any time. So if you have all of your entire site built out on the domain itself, and you catch a penalty from any one of these or anywhere on the site, it's going to affect the entire site. But when you build them out on subdomains, the subdomain, any penalty levied against a particular subdomain will be specific to that subdomain only. It won't affect the other subdomains. So you limit your exposure and your risk as well. So it's essentially you're spreading your eggs across multiple baskets instead of putting them in one. Okay?
Yeah, and provided that you're building subdomains, each subsequent new money site, once you get good at it, you get your template, you duplicate it, and you're ranking for the next website easier than before.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. You'll benefit from all subsequent builds. Yep. It will also accumulate. It'll be a cumulative effect where you'll start growing in authority exponentially.
Yeah. And all of your money sites, your money sites gain rankings because of that.
It'll be like a bell curve, you know? So, very powerful. All right, we got time for just a couple more, and then we're going to wrap it up because we got masterclass coming up in just about 7 minutes. Clint, I completely agree with you, +1 Nat. He says use pay-per-click to get fast leads for your client. You look like a superstar, and then use it also to validate that traffic from that keyword and make sure that keyword converts before wasting your time optimizing. Totally agree. So again, we can, I use Hangout Millionaire and SEO tactics a lot to validate keywords prior to spending my time building out, websites and trying to rank for keywords that may never convert or may never produce traffic. And so I totally agree with that. You can also do that with paid traffic, and that's what Clint's saying, and I totally agree with that. Clint says, pingback trackbacks, you can also check the DA trust flow of the site and keep the valuable ones. Yeah, that's a true. In fact, Clint, it's funny that you say that because in the masterclass, which we're going to start in just a few minutes, we're going to be talking about the local site build today, and I had a trackback from a fairly decent site, and it was still a no-follow link, but it was from a fairly good site, and it's because my curator is posting curated posts right now, and so we're linking out to a lot of other content sources right now that are high-value content sources that are 100% relevant content, and they're on authority blogs, and so when you get a trackback from those are valuable, and so that's a good point, Clint. If you're doing a lot of content marketing and stuff, it could be just kind of a pain in the ass. It's just going to take extra time to filter through all that stuff, so you can just turn them off. They're not that huge have that huge of an effect unless you're getting a lot of really good trackbacks. In that case, then yeah, I would take the time to filter through them. Mike Beek says, what's the quickest way to determine if our IFTTT recipes are still working? Publish content, Mike.
Yep. And SERP space. Oops.
Well, SERP space too. Oh shit. Awesome. Got a +1 that. Mike, publish content. Well, SERP space. That I think we're finally opening the doors next week to subscribers and MasterMIND members or whatever. But that's going to be basically telling you if they're up and they're working. But publish a piece of content, whether it's to your YouTube channel or to your blog, and just go check everything to see if it's syndicated. Don't publish a piece of content and go immediately check and then submit a support ticket and tell us it's not working. We've had that happen multiple times where people have said, oh, I published content, I checked, and nothing's been posted. Well, wait, give it a couple hours, and then go back and check it. Okay? If it's a network that you've already been syndicating content and it was working well, if it was previously working well and you publish a new post or a new video, whatever it may be, and you wait about 2 hours and go back and check it, it should have already updated across your network by then, unless there's an issue somewhere. Okay? All right, last thing. Where can we find Bradley's recommendations for crowdsearch.me? Hump Day Hangout episode number 25, Clifton. Just go to our YouTube channel. In fact, you can just go to YouTube and search Hump Day Hangout episode number 25 or episode 25. So search Hump Day Hangout episode 25, and you'll see an entire hour-and-a-half webinar that I did specifically on how to use crowdsearch.me. And then also, if you're in the master class, we talked about it last week, which was week 21. Okay. All right, guys, we have to wrap it up. Well, wait a minute. I'm not going to screw you, John. We're going to answer your last question, and we're going to stop. I'm working with some roofers, and they tend to work in multiple towns and therefore would like to be in maps for multiple towns. It seems the best way is to make subdomains for the main domain, town.1 main domain, town.2 main domain, etc., and each subdomain should have unique content, unique citations, etc. It looks like the question got cut off maybe, but yeah, that's correct, John. That's exactly how I do it, and that's what we've talked about inside the masterclass as well, but that's what I do. I do subdomains for all the different towns, just like I was telling Bo, and I try to put unique content on everything. Okay, and then you can kind of black hat addresses like what we talked about in the masterclass as well. Okay, all right, that's it, guys. Thanks for everybody being here, and we will see you guys in masterclass in just a few minutes. Those of you that are masterclass members, everyone else, we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.